This is a true hi-fi bargain. 299 bucks. It's just unheard of.
All right, let's take a look at this amazing bargain in the realm of hi-fi. This is the WiiM Amp, a streamer, a DAC, a 60 watt per channel Class D amp, all for $299. Now, this works with Spotify Connect, Tidal Connect. Using the WiiM app, you can use Qobuz. It has AirPlay 2, Chromecast, Bluetooth. It has a voice-controlled remote. This thing, I ordered it for myself to see how good it was, and then I said, well, maybe I'm going to see how bad it is. How good can a $299 hi-fi all-in-one amp really be? Let's take a look at the WiiM amp.
Today's sponsor is Crutchfield. Now, Crutchfield is currently celebrating their 50th anniversary, 50 years in business, and Crutchfield sells all kinds of goodies from hi-fi to car audio to home theater, you name it. Now, I've bought from Crutchfield many times in life. I've experienced purchasing, I've experienced returning an item, and I have to say they've always been top-notch with me. Just so happens Crutchfield does sell this WiiM amp as well, and they are a great option if you're looking to pick up this piece. Crutchfield has been around a long time. They offer superior customer service, in my experience, a vast range of products to search through, and you can see all of these at their website, crutchfield.com. I'll put some links below to Crutchfield, including their link to this WiiM amp. All right, so let's talk about the WiiM amp. I bought this for myself a few weeks ago. I've been listening to it, evaluating it. I still can't believe that you can get a streamer, a DAC, an amp in an attractive, compact, well-made casing for $299. Now, the first thing a lot of you are going to think is, it sucks. There's no way this can be good for $299. I'm going to tell you how it sounds. I'm going to tell you about the features. I'm going to tell you everything about this little WiiM amp, and I'm going to say something that might be controversial. I think that this little amp is a shock to the system, a shock to the hi-fi industry. It's from a company who shows what can be done for such little money. Now, is it equal or better than these big dollar amps? No. You're not going to get that quality. But what you do get for the $299 is quite remarkable. And I'm also going to tell you about a system in this video that you can compile with the WiiM amp. Total system cost $1,500, and it's going to sound pretty dang remarkable. So the WiiM amp, let's talk about the features. Now, it has a streamer built in. It's compatible with Spotify Connect, Tidal Connect. It has AirPlay, it has Bluetooth. You can download the WiiM app and you can use that to put in your Qobuz credentials and stream Qobuz as well. The app experience is actually quite nice. It's the same amp that I talked about in my WiiM Pro Plus streamer review. That was also quite the bargain, but this is an even bigger bargain because for an extra $100, you're getting an amp and a DAC and a streamer. All you got to do is add speakers. Now, the DAC inside of the WiiM amp is from ESS. It is a Sabre DAC. They're actually calling it the HyperStream DAC. It has up to 32-bit, 192 kilohertz decoding, so it's a very capable high-resolution DAC. Now, this comes with a remote control. It operates the volume, the input selection, and also works as a voice remote, which is pretty cool. All right, so is this amp the real deal or what? When I hooked up the WiiM amp, I wanted to test it with a variety of speakers. As of right now, I have 3 sets of speakers in my listening room. I have the Daniel Hertz high-resolution Ambers. I have the Closer Acoustics Augie and Bass Open Baffle units, and I have a pair of bookshelf speakers from Galeon, the Voyager TLs, the transmission line bookshelf speakers, and wow, they offer up some punch and kick and drive for very little money. Now, with all of these speakers, it did actually pretty well with the $12,000 Daniel Hertz Ambers. No, it's not going to sound nearly as good as it does with the Daniel Hertz Maria amp tuned to those Ambers. But when the WIM amp is hooked up to these powerhouse speakers, they do sound very good, very musical. They sound a little more subdued. So trying it with these speakers told me the same thing again and again. The WIM amp has a warm leaning signature, but there's some detail to be had. It's punchy, it has some drive and kick, and it sounds very, very musical. It's not going to sound as refined and magical as these big high dollar amps, right? But one thing that the WIM amp does very, very well is make you move your body, make you tap your foot, make you start singing along with the music because it is extremely musical. You don't get that refinement. You don't get the notes hanging in the air with that holographic sound stage. But what you do get, some may prefer to that. What you do get is that beefy drive to the music. It has seemingly plenty of power. That 60 watts seems very powerful, even with the Gallion Voyager transmission line speakers, which are not the easiest to drive of what I have here. Punchy, big, powerful, musical, slightly warm, a little subdued, not about all-out detail, and it sounds pretty dang smooth. I could not believe that I was hearing what I was hearing for $299.
So I'm outside today. It's actually a beautiful day in February. It's around 50 degrees. I'm wearing a hat because my bald head still gets chilly. But I've been thinking more about this WIM amp. And I think, as I said earlier, it's going to shake up the hi-fi industry. At least it should. I know a lot of people will dismiss it because they will think there's no way it's any good for that price. And I cannot speak to, I don't have experience with the longevity and reliability as I've only had it for weeks. But time will tell on that. I think WIM is trying to really make a statement here. And while it doesn't sound like those big dollar high-end refined amps, this is an amp for 90% of us who just love music and you don't want to spend a fortune.
All you got to do is add speakers. Now, of the speakers that I listen to with the WIM amp, my favorite combo is sort of the budget combo, and it turned out to be one of the finest systems I've heard under $1,500. And I'm talking about those Gallion Voyager TL speakers with the WIM amp. The speakers are $1,200. The amp DAC streamer is $300. All you got to do is add some cable. You can add those 30-buck cables I talked about a couple years ago and have yourself a system that sounds musical, big, beefy, powerful, and plenty of bass. These Voyager speakers really have some punch and kick in that bass, no sub needed, all for $1,500. That's quite remarkable, and I've been enjoying this little setup, this minimalistic setup here for the past couple of days. I've also listened to the speakers with other amps, but if you're looking for a value proposition without sacrificing a ton of performance, that is a great system. Now, how does this really compare against some of the big dollar amps? It's not meant to compare against big dollar amps, but I've heard a ton of those amps, so why not? It's not as refined. It's not as detailed. It's not as open. It's not as holographic. It's like you get a taste of all of that. It's a taste of the high end, but for such little money. It's really a no-brainer. I'm keeping it. I'm not going to return it. I'm keeping my WIM amp here for future comparisons, and I might even put it in another room with another set of speakers. So my expectations were pretty low when I was waiting for the WIM amp to come in. I was expecting it to sound a little thin. I expected the DAC to have that digital nature. I expected it to be a little fatiguing, and I just expected it to sound like $300. What happened is, to me, it sounds more like $850. And if I was running the WIM company, I would have released this for $850 because that's where I feel it fits in that price bracket. For $299, it's an absolute complete steal of a deal. So here is the WIM amp. This is how small it is. It kind of looks like an older generation of the Mac Mini. It's square with rounded corners, a compact size. You have your volume control right here on the front. It's also your power button. On the back, you have your various inputs. You have your speaker taps, your speaker outs here. You have a subwoofer out, meaning you can attach a powered subwoofer with ease. Very simply, you have an optical in, you have a line in, an RCA in, which you can include, plug in a turntable. If it has a phono stage, you can plug in a CD player, whatever you like, a streamer with a DAC. But this has a streamer, so you wouldn't need that. You have your Ethernet input. It also connects via Wi-Fi, of course. You have a USB port here, an HDMI ARC, and you have your power cable input. So once again, Crutchfield sponsored today's video, and they also sell and have in stock the WIM amp. You can buy direct from Crutchfield, $2.99. As I said, they offer really great service. I've ordered from them in the past many times. I even had a return with Crutchfield, and it went problem-free. I was refunded very quickly. So I'll include a link in the description below for the WIM amp over to Crutchfield if you want to check it out. I can highly recommend it if you're looking for a budget amp and you don't want to spend thousands of dollars on an integrated.
So one other really cool thing I forgot to mention about the WIM amp, and the same goes for the WIM streamer, the Pro Plus. If it sounds flat to you, or not enough bass, or not enough treble, or too much treble, you can turn the EQ on. And when you do this, you can pick from presets, which are okay, but you can actually adjust the EQ to your preference, to your room. Tweaking the EQ of the WIM amp really made it sound better in this room. So this is using the WIM app, very easy to use and control. Lots of features in here. I talked a little bit about it in my WIM Pro Plus review.
So I hope you enjoyed this video. I have tons on the way. I have a bunch of stuff in here for review now and a bunch on the way. I have a members area here as well. I just did a video talking and showing all the new stuff here. Give you some sneak peeks over there in the members area here at YouTube. It's $5 if you want to help support this channel. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next one. I love you all, and I will see you then.